We are going now to get a closer look at extract, transform, load. So within the overall data warehouse architecture, its role is to provide the data warehouse with data. Yeah, so on the left-hand side here in the slide, we have the data sources. So that's where the data come from. And that could be, of course, enterprise resource planning systems. It could be databases, but it also could be simply files. So often Excel files, of course. It could be APIs, application programming interfaces, for example, to capture stock data or weather data or so. You might have an application programming interfaces, often provided as some kind of web service. Yeah, so there are different technologies that could be used, but nowadays we often talk about web services, and of course could be social media and so on. Yes, and yeah, you already see that might be quite diverse data sources with diverse structuring of the data. Yeah, and so we need some mechanism and some systematic way to fill the data warehouse. And there actually is there's a whole breed of software that's called ETL software for extract, transform, load, that allows you to do that. Yeah, also in some kind of, let's say, low code manner, so that you need not to program a lot, but you can configure your ETL processes. Yeah, and then the data warehouse is filled with data, and the data warehouse has a specific structure where the data is with the data is stored, and the structure that we also have a first look on was the so-called multidimensional data model. Yeah, so that's something we will discuss a lot today. And on top of that, we have all the tools that analyze data. For example, SQL tools, visualization tools, data mining tools, and so on. Yeah, that's not directly part of the data warehouse, but of course it's part of the overall business intelligence infrastructure. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to concentrate on extract, transform, load, and actually you might remember our example from the beginning of the semester. Yeah, we have this spreadsheet model for room management, as you remember. Yeah, that was an Excel file that has several sheets. So for each building, yeah, it has a sheet, and within each sheet the data about the rooms within that building is stored. And as you remember, we have discussed the what is the characteristics of Excel, and what are the advantages of Excel with respect to a relational data model, but also what are the disadvantages. And by now, all of you should know these advantages and disadvantages. And if the data gets more complicated or several other requirements are given, then it has to be turned into a database system. Yeah, and as you also remember, the model that corresponds, that implements such kind of spreadsheet-based data within a relational database system, yeah, might be completely different than the Excel file itself. Yeah, and below you see a relational data model that could be able to handle that data. And please remember, the main guideline when transforming data into a relational data model is that you have one table per concept. Yeah, this has been used here, and therefore we have several tables here that represent this spreadsheet. Yeah. But having done that, of course, we would like to migrate the data from the Excel to the relational data model. Yeah, and the same pertains to the situation when we're talking about data warehouses. Yeah, we would like, in an automatic way, transform the data from the data sources to the data warehouse. Yeah, and in order to do so, we have to define some kind of ETL process, and that is something that you see here on that slide. So that's part of the data process, or the ETL process, that would be able to migrate your data from the Excel charts into the room management relational database. Yeah, I will show you I will give you in a moment a live presentation within that tool that I have used here. That's called Alteryx. Yeah, that's a professional tool a professional ETL tool in order to carry out such kind of processes. Yeah, but I want just to give you first impression and an overview of what kind of operations are carried out. And please remember, so I'm using this slide here, this extract, transform, load. We have getting the data from the source system, transform the data, clean it, normalize it, transform it, and load it into the data warehouse. And operations, ETL operations could be file access, database access, and so on. Data manipulation could be filtering, joining, aggregation, doing calculations, and so on. And actually, that happens. That is what happens here in that in that ETL process that we see here. Yeah. So, for example, we have aggregation of data. Yeah. You remember aggregation? That is something when we execute a group by kind of thing. Yeah, we have reading from the sources. Yeah, we need joining data from different sources. Yeah, and we need further things like selecting columns or generating primary keys. Yeah, and doing some kind of text manipulation. Yeah, so if we look more on a detail level, we identify many detailed operations that have to be carried out. Yeah. So let me show you the live presentation for that. Yeah. And so this is Alteryx. This is the tool that is able to carry out this ETL process. You see that here is a run button, yeah, and if I click here on that run button, yeah, then you see some actions are carried out and some results appear, yeah, and so let's these are the messages, yeah. You see what has been done here, yeah, and so let's dissect this process here a little bit. And you remember our starting point was the Excel sheet, yeah? So this one here. So we have a sheet here that's called TA_A, and there we have the data in it, yeah? And the first operator here within the ETL process, that's reading an Excel sheet. So that is something that Alteryx provides. You could select among different kind of input data. So if I click here on that, yeah, I can, sorry, if I click on in out, yeah, favorites, in out, browse, input data, yeah, then I can have several ways to insert data. And the thing I have done here is reading from an Excel file, and of course I have to give it the path. Yeah, on the upper left hand corner, you see I have used this room Excel file, and since this Excel file has many sheets, I have to identify what sheet I'm going to use. And you see here TA underline A. So I've taken the first sheet here, and actually that's about the configuration kind of things that I'm using here. And you see some kind of preview of the data. Yeah. So this is looking at the preview, you immediately see, okay, everything is fine. Yeah, everything is as it should be. And if I click on one operator here, in here the lower here right hand corner here, I see the output of this operator. So what comes out of this operator here? And of course, since it's just reading, it's just the same here as the preview. Yeah. So room number, level, and so on. Yeah. Okay. So as you remember, we have to do several things. One thing that we have to do is we have to figure out the room kinds. Yeah. So because as you see, we have this room kind table here. We need to fill this room kind table with suitable data. And you see, or you remember, the room kind only has its room kind ID and description. And you see here we have, of course, this duplication here, but we would only have to have one record here in here for lecture room, right? One record for PC room, one record for office, and so on. Yeah. So that's what we would like to see. Yeah. And actually, in this process, I have not directly written into the database system. So in order to simplify things, I have just used this browse element here in order to see the result. Yeah. So actually, this is what this part here of the process delivers, something that could directly be stored into the room kind table. Yeah, so this is a surrogate here should be the surrogate here for the room kind table. So now let's see how it proceeds. Yeah, how we are going from here to here. And of course, the room kind table only relates on this specific column kind here. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing here. So this is a select operator, and I just select the kind column. Yeah, and you see now I only have this column here, only that data here. And what I would like to do is, of course, I would like to condense it. I would like to remove all the duplicates here. Yeah, and this could be done by a group by, of course. Yeah. Because if I group according to the kind, each unique value is one group, so we only have two groups: lecture room and room. And you see that in the configuration here, I have the field here, and then I have the operator here. Yeah, and this is something that you should know by now very well. It's a group by. Yeah, it's the same as a group by within a database system. But if you look at the room kind table, we need primary keys here. Yeah, and unfortunately, the primary keys here for the room kind are not available within the source data. So that often happens, yeah, if we're dealing with spreadsheet and the transformation of spreadsheet into relational data model. So we need to to define the primary keys on our own. And since that it's a common thing to do, there's an operator here in ETL tools that is able to do that. Yeah. So I have used this operator, and you see, so it has a specific name. It's called record ID, and it has a specific type, and it has a starting value. It starts with value 1. Yeah. So there are some further options that we can use, but in this case, I just use this. I just take the default options here, starting with number 1 and having an integer. Yeah. So we see now that we have this additional record ID, and since in the end I would like to call it room kind ID, RKID, yeah, I again use a selection here, yeah, and what I'm going to do here is I take the record ID and I rename it into room kind ID. Yeah, it's just a renaming here of the source column RKID, and so that's what this operator does here, and then this is our outcome here. Yeah. Okay, so now we have derived from the spreadsheet, we have derived this table here, one of those. Yeah. So you see, defining an ETL process might take some work because we have to fill all the tables. Yeah. So let's take a look at the second branch here. Yeah. What do we get from this here? Actually, what we are filling here is the room table. So let's take a look at here. So so this is the room table, and as you see, we have this room ID that's again a primary key, an additional. Then we have this room number here, yeah. And since room numbers may not be unique, because in Tresco-Allee and in Wilhelminenhof, so the two campus that we have at the university, on both we have a building called A. Sorry, and both might have a room with number A029. Yeah, so this might not be unique over the whole university. Yeah, so therefore a further primary key has to be used. Yeah, so this is the room ID that we need. Here's the room number. And of course, we need, to the room kind, we need a foreign key. Room kind ID, foreign key to the table room kind. Yeah, this and that table have to be connected in a suitable way. And the level and the number of seat will directly be transferred here to the room table, but equipment and so on will not take into account, since there we have a many-to-many relationship that requires further development here. Yeah. Okay, so and I assume, I'm not sure, but so the ETL process is not complete, so the building is not considered here in the process. Okay, so we are talking about building the room table, yeah, and we take some of the columns directly from the spreadsheet, but others have to be generated, and even others have to be calculated in a suitable way. So our starting point again is our spreadsheet. Then we select the columns that are relevant here. Yeah, room number, level, number of seats, and kind. The other things are not relevant. And we add a primary key. Yeah, the room ID, it's a primary key that we add here. And now So you see the room kind is still here, taken from the spreadsheet. So we have this string here, but we have to turn that string into a foreign key, into the number that corresponds to the string. And we know, for example, lecture room, that was number 1, and PC room, that was number 2. And how are we able to get it? The answer is by joining it with the room kind table. So, and if you look at this join here, so this now is a join operation, and we have now taken the output from this here and the output from that here. These are the two outputs, yeah, and the join condition is on the kind column, yeah. So we have the room kind from this branch here, and we have the room kind from that branch here. We join it according to the kind. You see it here, yeah. And then since the room kind table here has a primary key, we also have that room kind ID now available, yeah. So this is the typical join. So we get all the columns here all together, and now we can just filter again. You're just concentrating on the columns that we would like to keep, yeah. And now you see we have kept here the room kind ID, and that's a foreign key to the room kind table here, yeah. So now we have the room table. The next thing that's quite complicated, of course, is handling of equipment, yeah. So this is really nasty to do, since we have this comma separated list, we have this numbering here in, yeah. So this is hard work to carry out. And the first thing I'm going to do here is extract the equipment kind here, yeah, so that I get a table for the equipment kind. And let's see what should be the output here. The output should be that we have beamer, PC, sound, and so on, all the kind of equipments that are used here, yeah. And so that would be our equipment kind table. And now let's see how we transform this complicated structure here, how we extract the equipment kind table from that. So first step, of course, is selecting the relevant columns. So this is equipment here. And now we are going to use text manipulation operations. And this one is called text to columns. And if you look at that here, yeah, you see that I have used a column split character, namely the comma. So the column to split, the delimiter, and I split it. I tell it to split it into rows, and there are further options that I can use. Yeah, and now you see the whole text here, all the text that is here. Yeah, and you see we have 1, 2, 3 on that row, 1, 2, 3, 4 on that row, and so on. Yeah, so they are stacked. So all it splits, and all the results are stacked onto each other, so that we get about 15 values here. Yeah. So now we have split it and have it turned into one large column, and on this column now we can do further text calculation. Yeah. So and this is what is called a regular expression that I am going to use here, namely to deal with where it is. To deal with this kind of stuff here, PC20 or beamer 2. Yeah, so I have to deal with that. And so if I take this one here, yeah, and if you look here at the result, now the numbers are gone here. So I'm extracting the actual value here, and this is what is called a regular expression replace. So regular expression is something from computer science that allows you to describe pattern within data and to make search according to those patterns or replacement according to those patterns. And here I have used some pattern, and this pattern is called /d plus, and that simply tells us take every sequence of digits. So /d is 1 digit, plus means take a sequence of any length of digit, and then surround, and if it is surrounded by parentheses, yeah, if you encounter such kind of thing here, just remove it. Yeah, so since we are generating the equipment table, yeah, and we are not talking about how many items of equipment are in which room in this branch here, we just remove it here. Yeah, so then we have everything cleaned here. There's one further cleaning step, that means trim, that means remove white spaces that might be there, trailing and leading white spaces, and again execute group by, and then here we are. Now we have our set of consolidated equipment values, and then add a primary key on it, and here we are. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that gives you an impression how ETL tools work in practice. Yeah. This process, of course, has to be extended in order to transform the whole data. Yeah, Shavi, you have a question?
Professor, after we do this equipment, how do we add the quantities to the equipment? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I actually haven't done it here in that process here. So you would need a further branch here, and that branch would be there in order to fill the equipment table. Yeah, and in this equipment table, you would access the same column here, of course, this column D here. Yeah. And would again use a regular expression, but now not to remove this numbers, but to catch that number.
Okay.
Yeah, but so this also is not so easy to do. I just wanted to give you an impression what has to be done, and I haven't done it completely here. Yeah, actually, when we are talking about business intelligence and about data warehouse systems, yeah, and all these fancy visualizations which we are going to build, yeah, soon, you have to keep in mind that really most of the work has to be done in capturing the data. Yeah, so there are estimates that about up to 80% of the working time has to be devoted to define the ETL process, yeah, and only 20% for the actual visualizations, yeah. But within this course here, this is not our focus, doing the ETL processes, yeah, since that often is done by the IT department, but our focus is more on visualizations, yeah. But to round everything up and to give you a complete picture, I wanted to show you one ETL tool in action here, yeah. Of course, there are many ETL tools available on the market, yeah. A lot, and each company uses a different one, yeah. So so you might encounter completely different tools later on, but the essence of all these tools is the same. No?